welcome back to Blue Flag Bandits, the series that drives F1's worst cars since 2010, so you don't have to, in the often pretty desperate hunt for points. And you join us at round 11 of 2015, the Belgian Grand Prix, one of the icons of the Formula 1 calendar. And as you can see, this season hasn't been so desperate a hunt for points. 8th in the standings, 34 points on the board, driving with Jenson Button in the McLaren MP430. It's been alright as seasons go. Apart from a minor blip in the middle at Silverstone and Austria, we've done alright for point scoring. Picked up 2 last time out at the Hungaroring. Our first points in Hungary in this entire series. Shows you how much I suck at driving that track. But Belgium is a completely different challenge, and one that we've, I think, done alright at so far. But before we get into that race, let's take a look at where we're at in the standings. Nico Rosberg leads the way, 37 points clear of Hamilton, who jumped Vettel after Hungary by a single point. Raikkonen there in 4th, finished Massa, Bottas, Ricciardo, a driver we've had a number of together with this season, is ahead of us. We're ahead of Kvyat, Perez, Grosjean, Alonso, Maldonado, Hulkenberg, Verstappen, Sainz, Nazareth, Ericsson, and then Stevens and Ney at the bottom of this pile with no points in the Man of Marussia. In the constructors, Mercedes lead the way. 50 or so clear of Ferrari, then it's Williams. Red Bull way off in 4th. We're a bit of a distance off Red Bull in 5th, but a little bit ahead of Force India and Lotus, Toro Rosso, Sauber, and then Man of Marussia down at the back. And yeah, Spa, iconic circuit, a circuit that transcends Formula 1. It's a multi-discipline venue and one that I think everybody has driven at some point or another in various different types of car, various different types of game, and one that I really enjoy driving, but one where the weather can catch you out. And in this car, we might struggle a little bit. The run through Blanchimont up to the bus stop and up the Kemmel Straight, the lack of power could be quite evident, but we might be able to make it up in the fiddly bits in the middle of a lap. That's going to be the hope, anyway. Because I like Belgium. I'd like to come out of this with some points. Let's keep putting points on the board. We're still a little bit off, matching our 2010 total, which is so far still the high point of this series. But I'm pretty sure we're now at least the second best season in Blue Flag Bandits so far, which from a McLaren, especially recording this in 2026, off the back of 2 straight Constructors' Championships and a Drivers' Championship. If you've only just recently started watching Formula 1, you'd expect the McLaren to be scoring points. Not so. Back in 2015, they had that Honda Power Unit. Just look at where Aston Martin are with their Honda Power Unit now. But enough talk about power units and McLaren and the history and the present, at least when I'm recording. Let's go back in time. Let's do some practice around the iconic Spa-Francorchamps. While we do, we'll talk about the real world 2015 Belgian Grand Prix. One returned after the summer break to the long and challenging Spa-Francorchamps circuit with a few changes to both teams and regulations. The FIA introduced a new start procedure with drivers only able to change 1 clutch level after leaving the pits in an attempt to limit the influence from the pit wall. Ferrari entered their 900th Grand Prix by announcing Kimi Raikkonen was extending his contract for a further year. Mercedes introduced a new low downforce rear wing, while Red Bull tested 2 different configurations of rear wing during practice. McLaren also arrived with an upgraded power unit in an attempt to bring themselves level with Ferrari. Lotus arrived in the midst of a legal and financial crisis, the former being a legal dispute with Charles Pic over the time granted him at the wheel of their 2014 Challenger. The dispute meant there was a real possibility that cars would be impounded after the race, with bailiffs circling. Bernie Eccleston stepped in to pay staff to ensure the cars were released, though the team's future is still very much in question. Based outfit's tough weekend was contained in the opening practice session, as Maldonado brought out the red flag, losing the rear of his Lotus at Becom, flipping the barrier, and sending the front pitching into the next barrier. The red flag was well timed for Rosberg, who'd not run while a suspected power unit issue was investigated. The German would shake those issues off, though, and top the times ahead of Hamilton and Ricciardo, with both the Australian and Kimi Raikkonen being out for second in the Mercedes pair. practice session saw more red flags, this time caused by Nico Rosberg, who had a high-speed tyre blowout on the run between Curve Paul Frere and Blanchimont. Damage on the inside wall of the tyre could be seen earlier in the lap, and the German was lucky to go into a hole without ending up in the wall. Marcus Ericsson then crashed heavily at Pouan after the restart, after losing control of his car mid-corner. Before the blowout, Rosberg had set the fastest time ahead of Hamilton and Ricciardo. The final practice session was a more sedate affair, with the session running uninterrupted for duration. Hamilton would finally topple his teammate, ending practice 3 nearly half a second clear of Rosberg. Vettel would slot into third, giving Ferrari some hope heading into qualifying. Was nearly the end of the line for Valtteri Bottas, but Finn set an early time on the medium tyres, which was quickly beaten by everyone running softer rubber. He managed to start the lap just in time to sneak into Q2, at the expense of Felipe Nasr, who was joined in the drop zone by both McLarens and both Mans. Alonso and Button amassing a combined 105 points grid penalty for component changes. The second part of qualifying saw a red flag interruption as Kimi Räikkönen came to a stop with loss of oil pressure. While the Ferrari was recovered, Verstappen was told that he would take no further part due to a worsening car issue. That left only 3 elimination spots after the restart, with Ericsson, Kvyat and Hulkenberg being left by the drivers. The top 10 shootout could see Hamilton unleash his full potential in the middle part of his fastest lap, pulling half a second on Rosberg in the middle sector alone. The Mercedes once again locked out the front leg, with Bottas slotting in behind in third. Grosjean would give the embattled Lotus team some joy by landing in fourth, though he would lose spots due to a gearbox change penalty, while Perez, Ricciardo, Massa Maldonado, Vettel and Sainz would complete the top 10. Made a clean start from pole for the first time in 4 races leading into La Source, but he was challenged by Sergio Perez briefly after the Mexican had a fast start, jumping Rosberg along with Bottas. Rosberg attempted a move into the bus stop, running deep and compromising with Finn, allowing Vettel to sneak through at the start of lap 2. Lotus had a strong start, Maldonado and Grosjean jumping Massa off the line. Maldonado's day would come to an end when the turn was straight in lap 2, the Mercedes engine in the back of his car losing drive. Grosjean had to take evasive action to avoid a big accident, keeping at least one Lotus run. Rosberg would not make an impression on Perez and Ricciardo ahead, but Red Bull pulled the trigger on his pit stop first, switching to the medium compact. Perez came in a lap later and stayed on the soft tyre, briefly falling behind the Red Bull, but making light work from the DRS zone. They'd both be jumped by Rosberg, however, the Mercedes pulling back enough of an advantage to exit the pits ahead. It appeared that Mercedes' civil war was about to begin, until Daniel Ricciardo's day was over. The car ground to a halt and brought out the virtual safety car. Rosberg gained substantially in that period, but it wouldn't be long before Hamilton drove away again. Grosjean and Perez put in just as the VSC started, with Vettel staying on an aggressive one-stop strategy. Grosjean found himself closing to within half a second of the Ferrari, but he was unable to make an attack to get by. Then, on lap 42, Vettel suffered a tyre blowout and Blanchimont, similar to Rosberg's during practice. The German expertly saved a big incident, while Grosjean once again put his cat-like reflexes to the test, moving to third. Hamilton would come home to take the victory and extend his points lead with Rosberg just in behind. Grosjean would hold third place while the bailiffs circled the Lotus garage below the podium, while Kvyat would use a tyre advantage at the end to work his way to fourth. Top 10 would be completed by Perez, Massa, Räikkönen, Verstappen, Bottas, who at one point had been set up with 1 medium tyre and 3 soft, on the drive-through, and Marcus Ericsson finished 10th. We might find ourselves here at Spa. It's quite the power circuit, so the Honda power unit may be exposed here, but it's certainly a circuit where the weather could play a substantial role in proceedings, as demonstrated in practice. despite the way we can push this car at times, I think Q3 is probably a little out of reach. So let's aim for P12 and see if we can mix it in with the midfield. Give ourselves maybe a little starting spot to attack the top 10.
It's qualifying time at Spa, one of the mightiest tracks on the Formula One calendar. Long straights, up and downhill, Eau Rouge as well. This track isn't for the faint-hearted. Spa is always a difficult track to predict who will do well at, but after the last few years, it's been a mix of Red Bull, McLaren and Ferrari drivers that have excelled.
Well, Ferrari have had 16 wins here over the years, but today I'll probably give the advantage to Red Bull. They're always able to pull off something special here.
Well, thank you, Anthony Crofty, as we sit in the garage for Q1 at Belgium. Practice was a wet affair when I was out on track, and I was 13 seconds off the pace because it dried up by the end, so no real representative running there. But dry conditions, they might be alright. It was a bit of a struggle in Hungary, but we still managed to scrape through to Q3. I don't know if that's going to be the same here. This, I feel, could be quite the challenge, but it's a long circuit, a long lap, so let's get out there, get some times on the board. Take a look then at our fastest lap in Q1, and you can see already in the drop zone and struggling as we head into La Source, but we get on brakes nice and early. Clip the apex perfectly and ride the curve on the exit. Car feeling pretty good through La Source, at least as we head down towards Eau Rouge and Radiac. So if we most fearsome corners on the calendar, managed to take these flat out and without getting too much of a cut as well. As we head up to the Kermit Straight, DRS wide open, they are pushing everything that this car has got. As we get to the end of the first sector, and we're marginally up on our best time, we get into Lake Con and head towards Massena. A little bit out of control there, scrubbing off a fair amount of speed, and we get a little bit tail happy as we head down the hill into the hairpin here. Waiting to get on the power, ride the curve on the exit as we go through Ix, otherwise known as No Name, having to lift off maybe a little bit more than we would like to, but then towards Puon, and the car's still pointing in the right direction. We're keeping the pace up. Keep it well within track limits there, don't get caught on the outside curve as we head into Campus, the chicane. First part not too bad, car wants to just disappear off into the weeds, but we keep it within and clip the apexes just right as we come into Stavelo and then onwards to Kirk Paul Frey. Again, marginally on our best time. Really need a bit of improvement in the final sector as we head up towards Blanchiment. Again, another part of the circuit you are just foot down and hoping. We need a marginal improvement here, we feel, just to maybe squeeze through into Q2 as we get towards the bus stop on the brakes, nice and early. Clip the inside apex and then maybe take a little bit too much out of the exit, but it doesn't unsettle us too much. Push for the line. Through for now, will we stay there?
That's the end of qualifying one, and the big news in this session is that Fernando Alonso was knocked out. It could be a long day at the office for the driver tomorrow.
Q1 over and done with, and as you can see, we're not in the top 12. I don't even think we're through. Massa there with a 2 times 10 place grid drop, so he's going to be starting from the back regardless. But down in the drop zone, myself, Alonso, Grosjean, Stevens and Mary knocked out right at the death by somebody, but also on a flying lap right at the death, and a front wingless Sergio Perez veered back onto the circuit right in my path, and that was the end of my front wing and the end of my qualifying session, and we're out. I think that's maybe only our second Q1 elimination this season. Just lacks grip. Every time we try to get into Le Com and get through it with a bit of pace, just no staying power. The car drifting everywhere, not really able to get a good line through the next couple of corners, and that's kind of cost us, and we are out. It's going to be a long road back here at Belgium, but let's cross to the race, see if we can retain some dignity by the end of it.
Welcome to the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps, which is the location for today's race. The cars are out on the grid, so let's join the action on the track. If you want to send your rivals a message, then really there's no better way than to breeze qualifying, take pole position, and then claim you didn't have to push all that hard in doing so. Talk about being full of confidence.
He'll want to end this weekend on a high after yesterday's fantastic performance, but he's going to have a lot of competition. I doubt he'll be expecting an easy race, especially considering the teams around him.
Daniel Kvyat looks to have the upper hand on Daniel Ricciardo this weekend. He really is dialed into this track.
Beware the Russian Crofty. He's on fire so far this weekend and looks to be able to get more out of that Red Bull over this circuit than Ricciardo can. Can he keep that going for the duration of the race though?
On the grid then, for the Belgian Grand Prix P16, Massa's penalty must have been 2 times 5, so it was a 10 place overall, which is why he is sat next to me there in 15th spot. This is going to be, I feel, a pretty dismal Belgian Grand Prix. We've just got no pace, no grip, no confidence in the car whatsoever, and I don't know, just something seems to be missing this year. Like, even with the slower cars that we've had, because the Caterhams and the HRTs have been slower, we've still actually been alright in Belgium. You know, it's not come as a shock if we've been slow, but it's also not been too much of a surprise if we can compete with somebody. Here, though, the only cars I think we can finish ahead are the 2 Marussias and maybe Fernando, and that really means that our aim has got to be 17th position. Because that Lotus behind us of Grosjean, that Mercedes engine, that could quite easily pace us very, very quickly. But we've seen plenty of times that turn 1 in Belgium can be a bit carnage filled, and we could easily see a few retirements from, well, AI doing AI things around here. We got done over in qualifying by a Sergio Perez shaped roadblock. So it wouldn't surprise me if we saw a few cars go spinning off and taking bits of their carbon fibre off, maybe wheels, and maybe taking other people with them. But that's really our only hope for moving forward, because I think even if we gain off the start, we're going to be under pressure immediately. So we might as well get those 5 red lights on and out again, and take to the track for the 2015 Belgian Grand Prix.
Okay, here we go.
Feeling confident as the 5th red line goes out, and away we go. We'll move to the middle of the track to try and stop Grosjean going for an inside send. Alonso sends it as then Hulkenberg turns across us. No damage, I don't think, but we've got Felipe Nasr to one side, Ericsson just there, Ricciardo, Hulkenberg and Perez as well. We have to do a bit of a dive through a Rouge and Radion, but it's worked. Hulkenberg though still there. Need to try and move across gently. We're in the middle of 3, going into Les Combes. We somehow have come out of it safely. And in P11, Alonso P10. After just catapulting himself through the pack at the start, he's chasing his fellow Spaniard Carlos Sainz. Little bit of contact with Hulkenberg at the start, but nothing major, car undamaged, and everybody's still pointing in the right direction. Super brave through a Rouge and Radion. Staying right where we were. Just continue starting to struggle, you can tell. Perez now right behind us, Hulkenberg there as well. Going to have, whoa, Perez nudges the back of the car. He's through, Hulkenberg's going to go as well.
The front wing is badly damaged. You've lost a lot of downforce on the car.
And that is a big accident.
You a new front wing.
And Grosjean coming with me.
The track is clear. Green flag.
Flick through the views rather than get in the pit box. And we're down to 18th. Got a new front wing. Slap some primes on and just try and run out now. What a terrible moment that was, which just got nudged by Hulkenberg as he was coming across. We're way off the field. We've got Grosjean and Ericsson with us.
Complete, go now. Right, we have 2 stops left in this strategy. We have 2 stops planned.
Well, this is going to be quite the drag of a Belgian Grand Prix now. Get back out on track.
We're fully laden with enough fuel to get us through this race. The car might feel a bit heavy to begin with.
Big news for the championship. Nico Rosberg, the man that's retired from this Grand Prix. And Sebastian now a massive opportunity to slice that gap down to the outside of the bus stop. Really a brave move to go there. Should be able to get past me into the source. Move the inside a little bit though, keep him there. DRS though. And that's us last.
We're faster than the car ahead. Your best chance of making a pass is through sector 1.
Ericsson and Grosjean in. And Mary just leaving. We have at least gained a couple of spots. We're on an alternate strategy now. So whether we'll be able to hold these and progress forward is yet to be seen, but it seems very unlikely. There's going to be quite the dismal Belgian Grand Prix. It serves me right to go wheel to wheel with the AI, I guess. Deep into Stavelot. Romain Grosjean now all the way back with us. Long, I don't think he's all that way as fast as me as he goes inside towards Blanchimont. And he's through. Alex will be with us soon enough, I'm sure. We're not even closing on Roberto Merri. Shows you how bad our pace is here, but we'll send it back at the inside of Grosjean. Try and leave him the space. Don't stay to the inside of us. We will, however, get DRS. Source. Inside, back into 17th, albeit for a short period, I'm sure. There goes Grosjean again, DRS open's gone. Ericsson not far behind either. Coming to the pits.
Your tyres are beginning to fall off the cliff. Watch the grid.
Vettel's out as we, Sainz is out as we slip to 17th. So Carlos Sainz out the race. Vettel out as well, I think. Vettel and Sainz both out, seeing as we dropped to 17 drivers in this Grand Prix, so we might at least make, definitely at least make our objective, despite the fact that we're stone dead last and way off the pace, as we head on in.
Release. Okay, stay clear of the white line on the exit. We'll receive a penalty for dangerous driving if you cross over into the track.
Came in last. Stevens up the road. I don't know if we're going to catch him though. severely lacked pace today. Ericsson's in. I think Grohl might come in as well. Yeah. Jump one of them, maybe not both of them. Jump any of them, but Roberto Mary's just ahead of them. Cross Ericsson. Just back to the 16th for a moment. Roberto Mary making his way up the hill, then Grosjean. There we go. And it's Marcus Ericsson. You get DRS, but it's just, we just don't have any pace. Look at that. To get back past the future Indy 500 winner. Doesn't work. Fernando up in 12th at the moment. Past Ericsson. Grosjean seems to be getting held up by Mary. Could work in our favour. How's it going to put on? That's contact, I think. Inside move through Stavolo and it works. Past Mary. And pit stops are working out. That's a legitimate pass. Seems to get us on the camera straight.
You're faster than the car ahead in sector 1. Use that advantage to get past.
A little bit of bump and a barge in there. Try and get back past him. Seem to be quicker through this little section of the lap as Ericsson once again barges into us. We'll go up the inside of it and make it.
Raikkonen is now the race leader.
And just holding on to 15th at the moment. Away from Mary though. Ericsson again. We'll get by. Closing. And again,
he's going to attack.
Just nudge the back of Ericsson. It just seems to stop going into the car. Maybe break a little later.
You've taken P15.
Real battle just to not finish last. Really happened one at a time this season. Back at Bahrain.
Halfway through our fuel load. Halfway. We expect the tyres are getting a bit worn at this point. You may notice a gradual loss in grip.
So he gets through at Blanchimont. I think that'll be the last we see of him until the next round of pit stops. Going into the bus stop though. John's made it to Stevens. Send it on Ericsson into the source. Ericsson again. Hamilton now leads. That's good news for his championship. He's in the pits, so we will get past him. Going in at the end of this lap.
Okay, here's the fuel situation at the moment. We have 20 kilos remaining. That's 20 kilos.
Into the bus stop as we head for the pits, Ericsson in as well. so he should at least stay ahead of the Spaniard. Stevens is likely to jump us, I think.
Go, go, go. You'll be racing on the exit.
Mary into his box.
Pit strategy complete.
He's
See these
already
tyres
jumped
through
us.
to the end now.
P16 might be about as good as it gets as leaders beginning to bear down on us. Okay, closing on to Will Stevens. The end of this race, keeping an eye behind because Raikkonen is not far back. Much like Bahrain, seeing if we can get to the end before we get lapped. We did manage to just avoid being lapped in Bahrain. There's the first blue though. Doesn't
Gap and let the car behind through.
look like it's going to happen here.
You're catching Stevens by around a second per lap.
We're getting blues. Stevens will be getting them soon as well. Have a little bit to let Kimi through. Oh, a lap down now there in Belgium. Kimi got past him. We head towards our final lap of this pitiful Belgian Grand Prix. We'll at least finish where we started, but that's by virtue of retirement, I think, more than anything. As we ain't break ourselves
Racing the car behind. Let them
into
pass
the
when
bus
you
stop,
can.
and we've got Hamilton in behind us now as well. Alright start. A little bit of wheel banging, a little bit of bumping a margin, but no damage, no harm, no foul. And made it up into 11th, just behind Fernando, who
Slower than you. Keep pushing.
was in top 10.
Congratulations
More.
on the fuel. Our level is now at 10 kilograms. That's 10 kilograms of fuel remaining.
Hulkenberg banged it off us, and that was it. We were in the wall. Took Ericsson and Grosjean with us. But all of a sudden, 16th spot. Which suggests that maybe Roberto Merri is out of this Grand Prix, right at the death. Since that moment, at the end of that one, we've really been driving mostly on our own. Jumped Roberto Merri through pit stops. It has been a long race of not being able to do an awful lot. Stevens, though, off the road, trying to get out of Hamilton's way. Dive at the inside. So thank you very much, take P15. Just got to stay in front of Stevens to the end. Kimi Raikkonen is going to come home victorious here, with Hamilton in second. We're up to 14th. I'm not sure who is out. Might have been Verstappen. He's sat right with us. He's going to have to go into the bus stop, we feel. Totally inside. Blue flags now as well. Raikkonen takes the victory. Hamilton comes home second. Bottas is going to come home third, right behind me and Will Stevens. 14 in Belgium now. Dismal.
It was a brilliant result for Ferrari today. They'll have answered a few critics with that performance.
Yes, definitely. It was a brilliant race, and one that you can tell the fans really enjoyed.
Well, what a weekend that has been. Please join us next time for another thrilling instalment of this Formula One season.
There we have it then. Kimi Raikkonen takes victory for Ferrari ahead of Hamilton, who had a real opportunity with Vettel and Rosberg both retiring from this Grand Prix to really eat into his teammates' championship lead. Bottas takes a podium ahead of Kvyat, then it's Massa, Ricciardo, Perez, Hulkenberg, Maldonado, and Nasser taking the points. Fernando, a couple of seconds away from the Sauber in 11th, finishes ahead of Grosjean, who recovered to 12th after that first lap incident. Ericsson finishes 13th. We finished 14th in the end, just ahead of Will Stevens and Roberto Merri. Verstappen didn't finish, Sainz, Vettel and Rosberg. Rosberg disqualified, and I'm assuming it's parked in a dangerous location. Let's have a little look. Oh, Rosberg collided with Hamilton and then parked in a dangerous location. I'll go back and look at the replay for that one myself. Let's take a look, though, at what that does to the standings. The gap now 19 points between Rosberg and Hamilton, so it's a swing, but not enough. As Kimi Räikkönen jumps up into third, he's well and truly in this championship fight. Vettel slips to fourth, but he's still there. Massa and Bottas maybe on the fringes, but could still get involved. Ricciardo seventh, then Kvyat jumps us into eighth by 3 points. We stay ahead though of Sergio Perez, Nico Hulkenberg past Maldonado. Grosjean and Alonso slip backwards. Verstappen remains 15th. Then it's Sainz, Nasser, Ericsson, and then the two man rushers with no points. In the Constructors, Mercedes lead by 46 over Ferrari. It's still all to play for between those two, with Williams in third. Then it's Red Bull. We remain fourth, but the gap now to Force India is 6 points. Lotus also 22 points behind. They're staying fairly close, as a Toro Rosso 30 behind Sabre with their 8 points, sit ninth. And last but not least, Manor Russia with 0. And you don't expect them to score, I don't think, as this season progresses, but you never know. Places like Singapore still to come could always have quite the crazy race. And Belgium could have been so much better. One little bit of contact, trying to race wheel to wheel with the 2015 AI. You'd think by round 11 I would have learned my lesson. Obviously not, and it's not going to get any easier next time either, as we head to the Temple of Speed, Monza, and as with every season in this series so far, what do we not have? Speed and pace. So, it's going to be quite tricky, I think, to bounce back from a fairly woeful Belgian Grand Prix. At least we managed to nick a spot at the end off Will Stevens, and then obviously retirement's gifting us another. But we finished, and that's something that incident in more modern Formula 1 games, or the ones before this, probably would have resulted in a DNF, and we would have been out lap 1, and that would have been a very short race. I hope you enjoyed it though, even if I wasn't particularly thrilled by it. Like, share, comment, subscribe, do all the good stuff. You know the drill by now. I'll see you next time in Monza. Take care of yourselves. Bye for now.